Please be seated. No, I'm just kidding. This is weird, right? Who would have thought that we'd be connecting virtually for a chapel speech on Wednesday, April 29th in the year 2020? No one could have predicted that. But what's even weirder than that is the fact that whether you're a 14-hour plane ride away or you live just down the road from Appleby, we are all doing the same thing right now, adapting. Good morning, Appleby. My name is Natasha Stanford, although you probably know me as the girl who dances at morning greeting, is happiest in the fall during field hockey season, and who paints herself green for Spirit Day. And if you know me, you'll know to call me Tasha and definitely not Natasha, otherwise I'll think that I'm in trouble. Adapting is one of the first instincts we have as human beings. It is the only explanation for how the hairy cavemen who waved a stick around and yelled nonsense became the humans we are today. CEOs, activists, professional athletes, politicians, and more. We recognize a problem or barrier in our lives, and we then adapt using innovation to create a successful future. This idea can be seen in both small and large instances in our daily lives. A small-scale adaptation most Appleby kids have used once or twice could be hiding your bag in the bushes so you can get to the dining hall on pulled pork day early, or maybe even catching a fever and rushing to the health center right before your grade 10 Spanish quiz. And now, with online school, Zoom lets us adapt perfectly by offering virtual backgrounds so that my teachers can't see I'm actually still in bed. Just kidding. But in my life, I've had to go through a change that I didn't want to make. Adapting is not always easy, and it is not always something you want to do. When I was in grade 9, I began rapidly losing weight, always going to the washroom. I was constantly tired, and I honestly felt like my body was turning against me. On March 27th of my grade 9 year, my mom took me to the doctors after noticing my skeleton figure and lifeless expression. I was then rushed to Sick Kids Hospital immediately and was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Now, I hate doing this, but I always feel like I need to clarify the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease that affects the beta cells in your pancreas and leaves you unable to produce insulin, a life-sustaining drug that takes the sugar that you consume out of your bloodstream. This is always confused with type 2 diabetes, which although does affect the same organ in your body, it is a completely different disease. One of the struggles I've dealt with and am constantly dealing with is trying not to get upset when people ask me if having type 1 diabetes is because I'm fat, or I ate too much sugar, or made unhealthy decisions. But here's another instance in my life where I need to adapt my response to be as kind as possible when letting them know that they are thinking of type 2 and not the disease that I have. As I said before, I did not want to make this change in my life. As a matter of fact, I tried to hide it. I would go to the washroom outside the dining hall and hide in the very back stall and give myself the needles I needed to give to stay alive. When I finally mustered up the confidence to take those needles in the dining hall, some of the people around me would scream and complain, not knowing that I actually didn't have a choice to give myself these needles and that I didn't like it just as much as they didn't. I wanted to curl into a ball and just hide from everyone. Even now, when my insulin pump beeps in class and everyone looks around and points it out, I feel like the most alienated kid at the school in that moment, and I hate it. But then I think about the positives of this adaptation. I have an amazing support system consisting of my family, my friends, my doctors, so many teachers, especially Mr. Stamper and Miss Millman, who have a son going through the same thing and who always make sure to check in on me, and I have myself. I've also become more responsible and fearless because I know now that whatever life throws at me, it will be no hurdle in comparison to the obstacle course of a life I'm already going through. Now, I don't expect everyone to understand the adaptation that I've gone through. But regardless of whatever your own personal obstacle is, it is just as important as mine. If something is important or challenging to you, there is no question as to how valid of an issue it is. We all see life through our own different lenses, so a problem that you view as small could be world-shattering for me. For example, my sister screaming about her Fortnite loss doesn't necessarily pull on my heartstrings, but then again, me crying when my Netflix crashes just as Lily and Marshall are about to get back together in How I Met Your Mother doesn't bug her much either. Sometimes the little adaptations we have to make in life, or the small problems we encounter, build up and feel like 500 pounds resting directly on our shoulders. In those times, I like to think of the 5x5 rule. If whatever you're getting down about or whatever is in your way will not matter in 5 years or even 5 months, don't spend more than 5 minutes being upset over it. Coping with changes is no easy task, but the first step is recognizing that things are changing. Denial can be a mean mindset that has the intention of protecting you, but instead does more harm. Putting denial away can allow acceptance to come forward. Other strategies for coping with adaptations you have to make in life are exercising, picking up new hobbies, keeping a gratitude journal, which I highly recommend. Thanks, Mom, for getting me one. Seeking guidance and support, and more. But if we look at our world right now, the problem we are facing will not go away that easily. Something I've been reading over and over again to give me some positivity and advice for dealing with the situation we are in right now comes from a pillow that my aunt got me when I was in the hospital. It reads, "Life is too short to wake up in the morning with regrets. So love the people who treat you right, forget about the ones who don't, and believe that everything happens for a reason. If you get a chance, take it. If it changes your life, let it. Nobody said that it would be easy. They just promised you it would be worth it." If I could design a pillow that expressed my advice for all of us in this time, it would read, "If a problem doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. You have to adapt the way you behave. Be safer and stay inside. Pray for people. Overdo your I love yous and check in on your friends. Donate to hospitals and healthcare workers who need our support. And most importantly, take care of yourself." Although I can admit that I hate living with a disease, constantly having a machine with a needle in it attached to me, and always feeling different for it, I know that being tasked with overcoming this obstacle has made me strong. I've debated this a lot, but I now know for certain that if I could go back in time and relive the last 3 years of my life without this disease, I wouldn't. It has changed me for the better by showing me to be grateful for the things we all take advantage of in life. So, students, let this tragedy we see in our society right now help you grow into a stronger person like my disease did for me. Learn how to work in uncomfortable settings and say thank you to your teachers who are virtually helping you through the challenging and vigorous academics we have at Appleby. And the best piece of advice I can give you is to cherish this time with your families. When you get to grade 12, whether it be in a few months or in 5 years, living and boarding is a lot of fun, but you'll never be surrounded by more people who love you unconditionally than you are right now in quarantine with your family who's probably driving you nuts, speaking from experience. And to my friends, the class of 2020, I'm sorry. This situation is not ideal. Just the other day, when I took my grad photo, in the top half of my uniform while still wearing my sweatpants, I thought, is this even real? But it is. And although we don't want to, we are adapting the way that we view our senior year. So keep using your voice to share positivity, whether it be through those little video montages of our happiest moments as a grade that are filling up my Instagram feed, or inviting every single senior to a Zoom chat just to say hi. Appleby, let's adapt together and let tragedy become triumph, not only now, but for the rest of our lives. Thank you. We will now end with the hymn, Amazing Grace.